Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. My name's Chris and this is Restoration Rescue. So last week we came in and we got the outside of the door panel ready after all of that welding and grinding. So that is all filled up. I don't know if you guys can see it, but we have a filling mess over here. So this week we're gonna start grinding down the outside and the inside of the door to get it ready for its coat of primer and paint. We're not going to be doing a painting and priming today, but we're going to get it ground down. We're going to get it filled, and we're going to start working on hopefully grinding some of that back as well. So let's go ahead, whip out some grinding pads, and start grinding away some of this old, ugly paint. After doing a lot of grinding, we did find a crack in our door. Now, if you look right here, and you can kind of see it when I push it down, there's a huge crack right here. So what we need to do is we need to start metal beading, getting that thing where it needs to go, and welding it back together. So I don't know how this would have happened, but over time, I bet the bouncing and everything and hitting on this door, it finally cracked. So there's a pretty good crack there. We're gonna go ahead, metal beat it a little bit, get it where it needs to be, line it up, weld it up, and grind it back, and then continue grinding away some of this ugly paint so that we can get everything set up, throw our filler on it, and hopefully get to grinding some of that filler away. So now that we have that thing all welded up, we are ready for some filler. I want to get the filler on so it can dry a little bit and we can play with it. So we got to open up our can and mix up a little bit of filler so that we can get it on the panel and get it looking good. So now let's go ahead, take some filler from the can. Don't need a horrible amount, as this panel, it's pretty much only at the bottom. Let's go ahead, line that all up in the center. Maybe take a little bit more and just get it on the on our mixing sheet. And now we need to put the cap back on so we don't lose any of this filler and have it dry. And let's go ahead and start mixing up some filler. Now you can see that it is a nice shade of yellow. So now what we need to do is add a little bit of hardener around this, and we need to start mixing. So as we mix the hardener into that, it's a pretty quick process, but we need to start mixing it, and once it's mixed, we'll be able to put it on the panel. Now, while we're mixing it, we have to get all of that blue into the yellow. So, and we lost a little bit, not a big deal. I'm not worried about some of the stuff falling off, but we do need to mix. All right. So we're going to move over to the panel as we continue to mix. I don't want this to dry out. This is going to be pretty fast on the whole drying because of the amount of hardener. So let's go over to the panel and start laying it down. So here we are over at the panel with our filler pretty much mixed up and ready to go. A little bit more mixing. Let's get some of it. And we just start putting it on. And I'll be honest, our first set, we did attempt one other try at this and kind of dried out too quick, as wasn't expecting this. Is usually our hardener comes out in like only little dabs, but it came out with a vengeance. So the first time I tried this, it didn't work. Not that the filler didn't work, it just dried instantly and we were left with just nothing. So now we got a good mixture. We like that little bit of green. Last week we had a lot more yellow. Not the end of the world. It just takes a little bit longer to dry. And it's not a perfect consistency. And sometimes with that consistency, you can run into some issues. It doesn't like to lay all that flat. But we're going to get this nice on here and smoothed out in a way so that it's not going to take too horribly long for us to fill and grind back. Because that's the whole point of the filler. We need filler anyway. So here we have a pretty good ding spot that we're going to have to fill. So I am going to lay it on a little bit thicker right here, just because I know that there is a mark. Now, I can tell right now that I'm starting to dry pretty quickly on this. So we have dried up, but we got a nice level of filler on here. We're going to scrape this right here off as that's dried out. All right. Like I said, right here, we are going to go a little bit thicker. We ran into a little bit of issue on that last spread as it dried out on me. That is because the hardener, again, came out a little quicker than I was expecting. Now we have a little bit better of a spread. Not too worried. Let's just get that nice and in there. All right. And I kind of want to smooth it out, make just sanding and grinding a little bit easier when we do this, because it is going to be a pain. So we're going to come back over here and just fill in some of the spots that are missing. Get this corner right here. Don't want to go too thick though. The thicker you get, the more you're going to just have to grind off. So it is a little thick. We're going to run it up a little bit up here, just because. So that's a pretty nice set layer of filler. Now we're just going to smooth it out. Some of this is not going to want to play nice anymore because it's starting to dry, but it's going to look okay. Because a lot of this, in the end, is going to get ground back and sanded away. So, as you can tell right here, where we originally laid our first amount of filler has already pretty much dried. So what we're going to do is give this a couple minutes, come back, and we are going to start sanding down the filler. Now, I have a couple different grits. Right now on my sanding block, I have 120. So we'll probably start with that. I do have, and I just got it in actually a few minutes before shooting this clip right here, we just got in some 40, some really strong or deep sandpaper, but we're not trying to get too deep and gouge up this panel too much. So let's go ahead, let this dry for a minute and come back and start grinding away the rest of that filler and get it nice and smooth. So real quick, we have some of the filler that had dried up on before. So here we have some of the filler where we had too much hardener. So on my fingers, you can see some of the leftovers from when we didn't have enough, but this is when we had too much. And it's super hard and it dries real quick and it's just a weird green. So this is what happens when you put too much in. Now, if you don't put enough, it just gets wet and stays wet for a very long time, and it can crack, and you're going to get water, and look at that. You even have a hole in this, even with all that hardener. You can see some of the hardener still on this panel piece right here, but we just have a lot of ugly, just body filler. So we did get a good coloring on there, which I'm pretty happy with. So now we're waiting, and we are going to start sanding this back. So let's get over to the panel and do some sanding. So we have that door pretty much where it needs to be. It is all ground back, ready for its primer coat. But we have run out of time for this week. I hope you guys subscribe to the channel. I hope you guys hit the like button to help us out. And I hope you guys drop a comment and let us know how we're doing. So we have one door ready to go back on the truck. Next week, we are going to hop back here with the new door, start tearing that thing up and getting it onto the truck so that we can start getting this thing into the backyard, get it primed out, and get it ready for its paint coats, get everything situated, and start making this thing look like a real live truck. I'm very, very pumped. We have some good news coming next week, and this thing is coming along. We are so pumped to be where we are. We're so pumped that you guys are here watching the channel. So we'll see you guys next Saturday. We'll continue working on this thing. So we'll see you then.